Welcome to a post-All-Star Weekend edition of Begley's Mailbag. I'm Ian Begley, SNY NBA Insider, and I'm here to take your questions on the Knicks and the NBA in our mailbag. And we're going to start here with Nathan Smith. Nathan Smith wants to know, what's the likelihood of Kevin McCullar getting called up and playing meaningful minutes this season? Given, where the rotations are, I'd be really surprised. If Kevin McCullar was to play meaningful minutes, he'll get those minutes in the G League, and it's a testament to him that he's able to get back on the floor after dealing with the injuries. And so I think that's where he'll stay. Barring a bunch of injuries for the Knicks, I can't see him getting meaningful minutes, I should say, with the big club. But obviously Knicks are high on him because they drafted him, and I'm sure they like what they see so far. So a lot of positives around Kevin McCullar, but I don't see him getting up with the big club and getting meaningful minutes, again, barring a lot of injuries, rash of injuries there. We've got a query from the Knicks Recap, my buddy. Thank you, Knicks Recap. He says, any idea if NY is planning to buy out Delon Wright, or is the idea to retain him? I think that, with Wright, you would ask for a buyout if another team is looking to sign you. And I don't know if that's the case, but I could say I'd be a little surprised if that was the case, if another team had been wanting to sign Delon Wright. And I think that's where you would see a buyout. So because I don't believe there'd be a market there, I would expect the Knicks to keep him on the roster. He's gotten on the floor a couple times in garbage time. And look, maybe there's injuries. Maybe he sees regular time. He's tall. He can defend. So certainly attributes that Tom Thibodeau likes. So I can't see him getting bought out and going to another club. Got one here from Brooklyn Saints. Joseph Murphy wants to know, Karl Towns has begun to make three-point shots. Is the thumb still an issue? That thumb is going to be an issue for the rest of the year. He's got that bone chip, and that's not going anywhere. The plan is obviously not to have surgery, to play through it. And because of that he's going to have to deal with that the rest of the season. That's what he's kind of resigned to, and that's what the Knicks' plan is. Now, if something gets worse and he's got to have some procedure, obviously that would be awful for the Knicks. But the idea that he has started to hit his three-point shot more frequently lately, as Joseph is pointing out, obviously that's a good thing. But that issue, whatever pain he's feeling, he doesn't like to talk about it. He doesn't want to answer questions about it. He just says it is what it is. But yeah, I do think that's something that he's going to be dealing with for the rest of the year. I don't think it has improved. Got one here from Mike Reed, and a lot of numbers. Mike wants to know, with all we've heard and learned regarding the Knicks' ability to add a 15th player on March 1st, is there one type of player that they're prioritizing for that spot? I think TJ Warren will get consideration for that spot at the very least. So he'd be a bigger wing who can come in and score. I don't know if there's other positions that are being prioritized. Wouldn't be stunned if it was a backup center, although obviously the Knicks like Ariel Hekporti and see him as somebody who can play minutes if needed. So yeah, that's the only intel I have there, is that TJ Warren will get some consideration for that spot. Beyond that, I don't have much for you, but the Knicks can add one of those players. I think March 1st is when that prorated salary, veterans minimum salary, slides under the second apron, and that's when they can add somebody. So keep an eye on that date for any movement. Got a question here from Jordan Bub. Jordan wants to know, when do you think we'll see Mitch Robinson's debut, and what do you think his minutes restrictions will be? They've obviously taken things very cautiously and slowly with Mr. Robinson. So if I was going to guess, I would guess early March is when he debuts, and they bring him along very slowly. I would guess you maybe see him in 10-minute increments at first, let him get his legs back, let him get his conditioning back, in-game conditioning, and I think that's where you'll go. I don't think they're going to rush anything. I think it'll be a process over several weeks, with the hope that he is ready to go for the first round of the playoffs. I'm not suggesting he's going to wait to come back until then. But what I'm saying is he comes back in March, mid-March, early March, and then gradually works his way up from a minutes perspective. Got a query here from Bart Jordan. Bart wants to know, what's the starting lineup expected to look like when Mitch gets back? In the playoffs, do you think Tibbs will ever switch it depending on the team? I'm going to assume that the starting lineup remains as it is when Mitch comes back. And I don't think there's going to be an immediate change there with Karl Towns and Mitchell Robinson. But obviously, I mean, the Knicks, that's something they want to see. They want to see Towns next to Robinson. They think that could be a weapon, and they want to, experiment with it. And, depending on how those experiments look, maybe Thibodeau would maybe shake things up depending on the opponent if it made sense. But I think you have to see how it looks first, see how effective it is, see where Robinson is also, quite frankly, before you talk about a lineup shakeup. But I think in a perfect world, it looks as good as they hope it will, and it's something they can use in the playoffs and maybe switch the lineups up. But it's all TBD, obviously, based on Robinson coming back. But I could say two things. One, the starting lineup, don't think it's changing immediately. Two, they absolutely want to look at Towns and Robinson and see what that looks like once Robinson gets back. Got one from James St. Patrick. James wants to know, why is Mikal off the ball so often on offense? Is that by design? Seems like he had more shot creation ability in Brooklyn. Brunson could use some perimeter relief at times. It's an interesting point. The Knicks have put Hart on the ball and taken Brunson off the ball sometimes with those starters. And so you've seen that. And earlier in the season, you were seeing Bridges, I believe, start the second quarter with an all-bench lineup around him. And that was a place where he had the opportunity to handle the ball and create. But more recently, though, that's been Towns with all-bench players. So there was a switch there at some point in the year. And with regards to him, being, wanting more of a role, I have no idea. But obviously the ability is there. But I do think, by and large, it is by design, because they have put the ball in Hart's hands to get Brunson off the ball more often than not. And I think that's how it's been lately. But keep an eye on that second quarter, and keep an eye on if there's a starter in there with the all-bench group, and that tells you kind of which way they want to go, particularly with Bridges, because he did have that role, and then they kind of went away from it. So we'll see how it shakes out over the last few weeks of the regular season. That'll do it for this edition of Begley's Mailbag. Thanks for all the questions, and be sure to keep an eye out for the next Mailbag in the coming weeks.